Step into hour number 3 and say hello to our friend up north, Mr. Clif High. Hiya, Clif.
Hello there.
How's it feel to have an alleged nutrition bar named after yourself?
No.
All right. How does it feel to have a name that describes accurately the geographic location that this entire culture and economy finds itself perched upon this very moment?
Well, it's an interesting issue, because we are framed by our names. There's no question about it.
Framed as in sent up to the big house?
No, as in boxed in reality.
I see.
But yeah, that's where we are financially and structurally. The infrastructure is so dependent on the dollar that when things go, it's going to get really, really strange.
By the way, for all of you who eat those alleged nutrition bars, I strongly suggest you begin reading the fine print on the label, and I mean you may need a magnifying glass because it is not encouraging text.
Yeah, I would. Those things like the idea of granola in a little package that you carry around with you is a little strange to begin with.
There are dozens.
Make your own. It's real easy.
Of course, and you won't have to put corn syrup in it,
right? Or
sodium, this and that, or soy protein isolate, or natural flavors, which is MSG, or any of the other things. So yeah, they're the little toxic bars of lust is all they are. Something like that. People have been sending me questions to ask you.
Well, let's jump in.
You've got to be awfully popular.
Yeah, it's really scary.
Remember when I found you at the bus station?
yeah, I sure do. And like I say, it's really scary to, come so far so fast.
It's all right. I don't think nothing of it. I do this all the time. By the way, your friend and associate and partner and colleague is just a wonderful guest, George.
George Ure, yeah.
Just such a bright mind, and had a grand visit as we always do. Okay, hi Jeff. I know you have only 1 hour with Clif High this evening, so here are 248 questions for it. Well, not really. All right, number 1. By the way, for those of you who don't know anything about Clif High, you have missed one of the most unique and extraordinary men of our times, quite simply.
You got to knock this kind of stuff off.
No, I just don't want you to fall back on the... never mind.
There we go, yeah.
The Israeli mistake.
Yeah.
Is this still in the cards for November with catastrophic global consequences? Or do you, Clif, prefer to demur on the subject?
It's still there. There's the problem. If the mistake is tied to the attack on Iran. So if the attack on Iran occurs, then we can say that the probability level for the mistake to occur is very high. A number is just playing to monkey mind.
Mm-hmm.
If the Israelis, and there's every sign in reality shaping up that the Israelis are going to try and do it themselves or force the U.S. to go and attack the evil Iranians for their, horrid sin of whatever it is that's got them all irritated at the moment. And when they do that, the probability rises that and actually I'm horrified to see Universe putting substance behind our language, because now it's come out that they've got these huge, giant bunker buster bombs that are, 30 tons or something that burrow themselves halfway through the planet before they explode.
Yeah, at least 25 feet through solid concrete.
Yeah,
and, I mean, it's just...
And the language was quite clear that whatever would occur was going to be strange. I mean, it was difficult for me to get a cohesive construct from the data, because it kept coming up to something like a radioactive volcano, and the imagery was very similar to what we saw with Gulf War I, where Saddam had lit off all the oil wells, and it took weeks to put them all out. In this case, the suggestion really comes down to the idea that the bunker buster may go awry or askew or something, and somehow cause the radiation to get into an oil field, set the whole thing off, and it burns for a long time and pumps radiation out. And that's a quasi rational explanation for what the data seems to be trying to say.
Are the Iranian oil fields near the reactor sites? I don't think.
No, I don't know that that's the case at all, and that's why none of this makes any sense from that viewpoint. And I haven't done any of the studies of geology, but my thinking is that the idea that they would hit something, or that such a thing could occur, is much more likely.
Well, you got it pegged, all right. I mean, really think about it. If let's just say a reactor is hit, and it's full of plutonium and other sorts of fun commodities, and it does burn like Chernobyl.
It does meltdown, correct.
That's right. You got a meltdown. You got a core catastrophe, and it burns for weeks and spews.
Right.
Sure. There's a volcano of sorts.
Yeah, and that was our problem, is that there's no known volcano in the area that they could hit with a bunker buster that would set it off. Therefore, since we're getting volcano language and eruption and so on,
you're seeing the word.
Correct. And there's the issue, of course. But to answer the question, non-succinctly, yes, the mistake is still on. If the attack is still on, and I don't see any pullback on any of their language that's manifesting in reality, that they're going to pull back on the attack.
Geez, they want the F-35, they want the F-22. What is it that the Israelis don't want? Except, I guess...
Peace.
There you go. Yeah, peace. Thank you. You just summed it up. 60 years of genocide of the Palestinian people, and the world looks the other way. Well, I guess I have to admit that if I were being thermonuclear blackmailed, I'd probably look the other way too, and all the indications are that's a very commonly practiced tool in the arsenal of the current Israeli regime, that they've used this at some level for years.
Yeah, but so have we, as the United States.
Everybody does.
Yeah,
but not to exclude them from that aggregate, because that little shining democracy in the Middle East has mighty bloody hands.
Yeah, that's quite true. Yes.
So, all right, that's question number one. So, all things summed up, the attack appears to be, as far as Clif's work is concerned, still.
And there's even further support for it in the temporal chain. We look at these things as dominoes, and if we say, okay, here's temporal marker 1, and it's domino number 1, and we can track say 30 or 40 of them off in a line is some distance into the future. If some of those dominoes fall out, that is to say they don't show up in the language, we're not really all that concerned if 1 or 2, even 5 or 6 in a series don't necessarily show up when we expect, because frequently we're wrong on the timing and when that language will show up. It doesn't necessarily mean that the 7th or 8th one that beyond would not show up, but it becomes rather the opposite is also sort of inversely true. The more that we go along in these chain of dominoes without losing one, without a situation showing up where they're not manifesting, that gives us so much more confidence that the next one in line will show up. And here we've got situations where, well, you can say to yourself, what would stop the Israelis from attacking Iran? Well, the threat to the oil and the global economy, but now, of course, we've gotten a situation where the dollar is tanking rather ominously, oil prices and gold prices are going up. Pretty soon we'll get to the point where the economy tanks on its own, and then in that regard, if that is a consideration, it will no longer be a constraint. And so that's one more temporal marker, so to speak, in the chain that leads up to the Israeli mistake.
I see. Very good. The big mistake.
Yes.
And that's a mistake that quite likely will have legs, and it will continue to run for a long time. This is a country of 80 million people, ladies and gentlemen. These are Persians. These are not Arabs in the traditional sense at all. This is a whole different culture.
Yeah.
The trump card in this whole thing still seems to be Russia, and I still can't pin down their ultimate disposition on this. I don't think anybody can. So we will have to, I guess, just wait and watch and see, and keep following things at half past human. Folks, if you don't know anything about this, Clif puts out, without question, the most provocative, compelling, and absolutely fantastic in its implications. Are you still giving it away practically?
We're selling the reports at $10, yeah. We can support it on that. So it's, all we ever cared about was sufficiency, because, quite frankly, money won't matter much in the future.
No, it's true. $10 or you can send in I guess a St. Gaudens $20 gold piece. That'll cover you.
Oh, yeah, certainly would, yeah.
For the next how many years?
Until the Internet runs out on us, which is going to be the big issue, I think.
All right, well, that's an interesting topic, too. Now, what what does the data talk to us in terms of internet longevity, health, and